Okay, sorry about that, guys. Hopefully, hopefully this is working. I had a little bit of a technical difficulty. Jamie, you there?
You bet, buddy. I sure am. I'm
All right.
watching the screen right now, waiting for it to come up full size.
Okay, great. And so you do see my screen?
Yeah, I do. It's like a wide aspect ratio at the moment. It's not doing a full fill on my screen, but kind of tall and narrow across the top.
All right. Well, we'll see what happens, man. It's just going through issues with this here Macintosh. So anyway, welcome everybody. My apologies, having some technical difficulties today with GoToMeeting. We are looking for another solution there. Congrats first goes out to UConn. The University of Connecticut, I tell you what, that was a crazy March Madness. Hopefully everybody enjoyed it. If you're not into that, it was a heck of a thing. It was crazy going back and forth. I have a bunch of friends in Kentucky, so obviously they're depressed. But besides that, and that was a great run, by the way, with freshmen. Good stuff going on there. And also we've managed to get into spring a little bit. So real quick. I'm Dave Blow. I'm the CEO of isiFederal, and with us today we have Jamie Zell. He's the Director of Sales and Marketing for GSAproposal.com, and he's also working with us at isiFederal. So say hello, Jamie.
Hello, everybody. Hope your morning's going well. I'm with GSAproposal.com, helping on the new schedule development, and also when you've got a GSA schedule in place, there's things to think about with regards to maintenance and whatnot, and that's something that we help with there too, is revisions and updates to your schedule. And also remember too that you're entitled to economic price adjustments, or EPAs, that some people don't think about, but your existing schedule, that's something you can do. And on the other side of the house, I'm helping Dave. We're helping people get on the right road to go in to see the correct people to make more business happen within the federal government.
I tell you what, and we really appreciate Jamie being on board. We've been working together for many, many years, and not only do I trust his judgment, I love the way he thinks, and just the magic that he brings. Love it, love it, love it. I appreciate you being here, especially for this as well. The numbers that matter most, and these are getting critical, folks. 176 and 541. These are the two numbers that matter most. What are those, you say? Well, these are the last days of this fiscal year and next fiscal year. We passed the halfway point. We're now coming around the track and getting to the point where we better be getting ourselves positioned to come down the stretch. And if you take a look at these spikes here, right, and this is almost every industry, these are spiking in September. Every single one of these is September spending, and it matters the most to you. Just about every industry. Every once in a while we get a weird one, like we did some work with a produce company, Coastal Sunbelt Produce, and obviously you grow produce in the summertime, but they have distribution throughout the year. I'm telling you, in your industry, most likely you're looking at September, and in the next 176 days, $280 billion will be spent. And a lot of that is going to be on new contracts as you get towards the end of the year. And if you're not in front of the key decision makers right now, if you haven't been building this base, you're 6 months behind. And if it doesn't bother you that your competitors are going to be putting your tax dollars into their bank account, you can just drop off the call right now, because it doesn't matter. That's the kind of stuff that gets me juiced, and it gets the folks that I work with juiced, because we want to get some of that money back for us. Real quick, some housekeeping things. If you have any questions, on the right-hand side of your screen, you can post questions and chat and all those types of things where you can get in here. It's right down. You just open that up and you can chat. The other thing that you need to do is enter your audio pin. That way we can create a back and forth dialogue. Be glad, really love the dialogue, and I'm juiced about today too because of some of the topics that we're going to be talking about. Real quick about us, isiFederal, we are business development folks. We get out, we build the relationships specifically for you, reaching out to the decision makers, making sure we do marketing, all those types of things. It starts with intelligence, understanding the marketplace as it applies to you. Then we can get into some of the marketing services, working with Jamie to get GSA schedules or other vehicles for marketing with the government, and that can include some advice. We can just advise you. We can also do assistance in where we're doing the grunt work. We can help your team by managing their team. They can report to somebody on our staff. so that we know that they're doing the right things. We also provide dedicated representation, and this means that we're carrying our name on your business card, walking in the doors, meeting with folks for you, making them sticky to you. And this includes feet on the street in Washington, D.C., the surrounding areas here in Maryland, Northern Virginia, up into Pennsylvania as well, but we are in the hub of federal decision making right here, and we can help you in that fashion as well. And then, as Jamie mentioned before, GSAproposal.com does proposal management. They absolutely have a 100% track record in getting GSA schedules awarded. And Jamie mentioned something that's really important. If you already have a GSA schedule, doing the maintenance on that schedule. And we kind of have a different webinar for GSA folks. But real quick, Jamie, give them a high-level overview of how to go about, getting an understanding of whether even a GSA schedule makes sense.
Well, when you look at the marketplace, and if you're approaching the federal government, many clients come to us and they end up getting backed into needing a schedule, where they're out there looking around for business, and as they're finding their way or trying to find their way, they're running into opportunities, and a lot of times they're running into opportunities where procurement happens specifically by GSA as a requirement. So they may go through the whole routine, and they're getting to know the end users, and everything's warming up, and it's going real nice, and it goes upstairs to the buyer, and the buyer says, "This looks good. Give me your GSA contract number, and we'll get this on order." And they don't have one. So a lot of clients get backed into it that way, and then they need a time machine because they need the schedule now, and it takes some time to build it and get it through the system. So proactively, if you don't have your GSA schedule, it's something you really need to think about, because if you're dancing in the federal sector at all, GSA schedule is going to come up. It comes up. It started way back in the 40s. GSA did, and it's the largest standardized purchasing portal for the federal government. And if you don't already have a GSA schedule, it's something you should really be thinking about or taking action on. And we can certainly help you with that. We go through a build process where we first of all put together a master set of documentation that is about your company and your offering, and then from there we send it off to the GSA procurement officer, the PCO. Then it sits in the holding tank for a while, and that's the longest part of the process. It's called the waiting game. And then they pull it up for review and approval, and that's where we go into clarification. We have to satisfy any questions the PCO has. And then once we've satisfied the PCO, your GSA contract gets awarded. From there, we go out to GSA Advantage and do your upload to gsaadvantage.gov, which is like the government's modern electronic phone book, where they look for products and services, and only companies that have their GSA schedule can be listed there. So that's kind of a short snapshot of getting your schedule. And then once you have your schedule, it's important to keep it current, especially if you're putting products on there and products and models change. You got to keep your schedule current. You want to make changes to your schedule. We can certainly help you with that too. And I touched bases on it earlier, and economic price adjustments are allowable. You know, the cost of gas keeps going up, the cost of a gallon of milk keeps going up, and there's opportunities for you within your GSA schedule parameters to bring your prices up over time to compensate for increase in costs, so that you don't get stung by selling something at a margin that's too low on your GSA schedule. So these are all things to think about on the maintenance side of the house, and if there's a way that I can help you with that, please let me know. Feel free to give me a call or email me, and we'll be happy to talk about your specific needs and see how we can get you taken care of.
And that's exactly why I don't want to do it, is because Jamie loves this stuff, and I don't know why, but he's all about that type of thing. And I understand that we're seeing some stars in space. That's my desktop. Don't ask me why. I have no idea what the heck's going on. I'm still trying to figure out this Macintosh world, and it's kicking my booty. So I'm going to leave that. I'm going to just make pretend it's not there. So the other folks that we have here, and I don't know that Sean is with us today. I work with Sean with Revolution Payments on several different accounts because of their understanding about the federal government and how it applies to merchant card services. And if you're not doing business with the government, they have procurement cards, P cards, that they can buy things. They can buy things right away. It doesn't have to go out to competition because it's less than $3,000. And these folks understand the government. They offer level 3 compliance so that you can get rates that are below 1.5%. And I don't know about you guys, but I know that that a lot of our clients that are doing work, in fact, with GSA schedules on GSA eBuy or GSA Advantage, they're paying with these credit cards. And if you're thin on margin, and usually you are if you're working off of GSA Advantage numbers, you'll wind up giving away a half of your profit in your credit card processing fees. So reach out to Revolution Payment Systems. They can absolutely help you with that. And if you need any additional information, you can email me. We'll get you in touch with Sean. So why are we here today? We're here today because the federal government is ridiculously large. They are the #1 customer in the world. You see the money falling from the sky, right? You hear this. It's like, oh my gosh. It's like, and folks, I guarantee you that if you're looking at this, you've probably gotten a bazillion emails of people that want to get you a GSA schedule, or they want to help you some way in the federal government, and they're touting how much money there is there. And I'm not going to deny that there's money there. It's a $500 billion market. I don't care what's happening with budget cuts and all the rest, sequestration, all the rest of the stuff. 2.5 million contracts are executed. This is important to know because people are going to send you to GSA. They're going to send you to Fed BizOps and things like that. But I'm telling you, guess what? Most of those contracts don't hit in either one of those places. They are out there being executed every single day, but they're not hitting the street. So how in the world does that happen? So there's 2.5 million contracts. 23% of these are set aside for small business, or they're supposed to be. And it depends on the agency. Some of those are actually higher with what they're looking for in the agencies. Now, they buy everything all over the place, and we've heard this. They're all over the world with what they're purchasing. There's 85,000 buyers within the continental United States being able to purchase things either from P-cards, or they have warrants to be able to execute contracts on behalf of the federal government in 470 agencies, and there's a bunch of sub-agencies in different locations, as you know. They are the #1 customer in the world, and to drive this home, 23% of that $500 billion is supposed to go to small businesses. That's $115 billion. That rivals any of your multiple largest companies in the world, right? So the objective here is to figure out a way to get in here. Now, if you want, do you want in? You want to get some of that cash? You want to start putting some of that in your bank account? Or if you're already doing it, you want more of that stuff? You want to get more contracts in the federal government? Well, I'm here to tell you something. And this is where I want to be very, very clear. First, there's no silver bullet. If anybody says they have the ability to connect you and do this, that, and the other thing, they're not being full and open in their disclosure. 80% of you will fail. This includes, and probably more than that if you haven't gotten a GSA schedule, this includes GSA schedule holders. These people, after done everything that Jamie just said, they've already gotten in there. 80% are going to fail because they're not doing it right. It takes 24 to 36 months for traction. Traction. I'm not talking about ROI. I'm talking about traction. Jamie, how long do they give you to make $25,000 in the federal government with your GSA schedule? How long do they give you?
They give you a 2-year window. Once your schedule's awarded, you've got 2 years to make $25,000 as your minimum requirement to keep your schedule going.
To keep your schedule, you got to make $25,000. Why do you think they give you 2 years to make $25,000, Jamie?
It's because of the ramp. It takes some time. You don't just show up in the lobby and they're waiting for you with a big hug and kiss. You need to work your way into the system and be able to develop those relationships that are so very important.
You're absolutely right, and that's the fact. So if GSA gives you 24 months to get $25,000, it can't be easy to do. And guess what? You're not in this for $25,000. If you're in this for $25,000, get out, because you're in it for what the average GSA schedule brings. The average GSA schedule brings about $3.5 million. Now, I will tell you this. Very few people, and when I say very few people, you can probably count them on one hand, in the history have gotten to $3.5 million within that 24-month period. Now, there are some that have. Now, those are people that are probably already involved. They already understand the government and have an additional capability to be able to penetrate that. I got it. But even some of the biggest guys, some of the best folks that have been doing this, really struggled in the first 2 years. And they spend an inordinate amount of money doing that in the first 2 years. But it can be done. We do it, it can be done. It absolutely can be done. But I'll tell you this, if it were fast, easy, and cheap, everybody would be able to do it, and you wouldn't have an 80% failure rate. The things that get in the way, listen to me, the things that get in the way are the traditional entrepreneurial mindset that says, man, I could bull through this and in 90 days I'll be having some kind of business. No, it doesn't work that way. The things that got you to be successful in it as an entrepreneur will get in your way in the federal government because it is painful. Jamie talked about the waiting game. Oh, Lord have mercy. We got bids out there that we bid in November of this year, just got reevaluated, and we're still waiting. It's been 35 days. It's a $6.5 million contract. $6.5 million. Nice size, right? Definitely. The good stuff. Still waiting. Still waiting. And that started in November. So now that you know that, you still want in? Because here's the time where you can make the decision. Great time to bail off of this webinar because I don't want to waste your time on getting into the federal government if it doesn't make sense for you. But if it does make sense for you, we'll be able to tell you some of the pieces to help you get in there. All right? So real quick, if you want some more information on this, just finished the ebook last month. It's up there, and if you shoot me an email, I'll get it to you. Debunking the federal myth. Why do these 80% folks fail? I've already touched on that a little bit, but we'll talk about in the book. It goes in a lot more detail. How the winners do it. Wouldn't you like to know how these folks get the business? There's 12 steps of winning the federal business. Give you some opportunity development tips and how to get ahead of the RFPs, and give you links to resources. It's free. It's free. And part of that is the 10 Commandments of Networking. It's in there on page 43, I believe. It'll go through some of the things we're talking about today. So feel free to check this out. It is on isiFederal, and if you can't find it, give me a shout, and we'll get that to you. Just a real quick review on the 12 steps that we've been working on. We're working through the ebook kind of in these webinars. We're talking about getting smart about the marketplace. Before you do anything, for crying out loud, make sure you know what the marketplace looks like. Don't go in there guessing. Don't go in there listening to anybody else either. Make sure you understand how the market applies to you. The next thing is develop your federal strategy. And part of that strategy is establishing a budget. It's not going to be free, it's not going to be easy, and it's not going to be cheap at all. So make sure you're budgeting for success, because if you don't, you're budgeting for failure. And then all the time, all the money you've wasted is gone. It's just gone. It's gone. And I see it happen all the time. The next thing we do is we prepare, dedicate the right resources. If you don't have them on staff, make sure you're filling those gaps. And we'll be glad to fill those gaps for you if you think we're a good fit. Build the relationships with the stakeholders. That's what it's all about. Jamie mentioned it. Got to know these people. Got to get in front of these people. Help these people like you. Learn how to win. There's a process for learning how to win. You're going to throw bids up and they're going to fail. And why? Because they already have people that they're buying from that they already like. So you got to be able to noodle your way in, leveraging those relationships, building those relationships, leveraging those relationships, getting to the place where we influence the scope. This is what we're after. This takes 2 to 3 years in the grand scheme of things, most instances. So you're also going to be monitoring for those winnable opportunities, improving your position, and getting to the place where you're winning these contracts. And then once you're winning, guess what? You got something to lose. And somebody else is going to want some of that and try to steal that from you, right? So once you've won, you got to keep winning. You got to keep those competitors at bay, right? Today, we're going to be talking about building those relationships with all of the stakeholders and how we can reach and communicate with these folks, getting yourself in front of them. And one of those things that we got to know is who are these federal decision makers? And we call this the who that matter to you. No, it's not Dr. Seuss, but I'm telling you, it's the who that matter to you. Not everybody else, just you. And how do they make decisions? Because if you know who these people are and you know how they make decisions, then you can develop your approach to being able to appeal to them, right? So here we go. Who are we after and how can we reach them? And today we're going to be talking about networking. Now, a lot of folks, now this can be a polarizing thing depending on who you are and what you do, because networking is not about selling. Networking is about relationship development and being able to meet people. So in order to understand this, we're going to talk about the people, the who that matter to you. The key people involved in this, they have different needs, different roles, different buying motives, and different reasons for making decisions. So depending on who you're talking to will depend on how you approach them because of the job and the role that they fill in the federal government. Real quick, project managers, program managers, they're responsible for driving initiatives. They're looking for new ideas. They are influenceable. The objective, again, is to get ahead of the opportunity and influence the scope. It includes the requirements, your capabilities, making sure that that gets funneled into that. Their job is to get the job done right. Your job is to tie in with the initiatives that are being driven down on their head, whether it's green, environmental stuff, cloud computing, security, whatever it happens to be that those initiatives are. And your job is to tie in with those initiatives, help them look good. Now, one of these is a core human emotion to help them look good. We're going to be talking about that specifically, very specifically today, as a matter of fact. The next person is a technical representative, could be called a core, could be called a COTAR, could be called any number of things depending on the agency. But they're busy. They usually report to the PM. They bridge the gap to kind of assemble the technical documents. They're generally risk averse because they're lower down in the organization. When they're assembling these requirements, they're looking at similar purchases, they're looking at the standards, they're looking at all the different things that apply to this particular purchase. Could be the Federal Acquisition Regulation or the FAR. Their job is to assemble these requirements. So your job is to help them with the requirements and help them look good, right? So the next person, here we go, the contracting officers. These are the guys with the bucks. These are the ones that sign the contracts, that execute they have the warrant capability to be able to spend the money. So it's the other side of the house, the procurement side of the house. They're not going to teach you on how to do business with them. They don't even want to talk to you if you don't know how to do business with them. And one of the things Jamie mentioned, GSA schedule, that shows them that at least you've done that much. It's not the end all and be all. In fact, that's just the beginning. That's just the beginning. So they're risk averse. They don't like new things. They're experts in moving paper. Now, this is not to diminish their job. This is to understand their job. Their job is to move paper. So if you're going to go pitch them on how great an engineer you are or the latest Wizmo gadgetry that you've developed in your app, they don't want to know. They don't even care. All they want to know is how can they buy from you? How can you help them? How can they buy from you? So they want the fastest way to purchase. And if you don't have the right GSA schedule, if you don't have the right procurement mechanism, that's not fast. That's not easy. And so they're going to throw you right out of the pool. They're going to look for somebody to help them make their job easy. Your job, make them feel valued, and easy is good. So make it easy for them and make them feel valued. So here's where we get into the next phase. Think about how people can be valued. Oh, real quick, sorry, I forgot. This is last month's thing. What we went through was developing a capability statement. If you haven't done this, got to do this. You should do this anyway. Even if you're not getting in the federal government, it's a great exercise. Great exercise for developing your pitch. Great exercise for developing something that's concise. One page, has all the information on it. The left side speaks to the contracting officer. Right side speaks to the program people. And the bottom is a success story. You get the past performance. Past performance, critical. Your vehicles, critical. If you don't have past performance and you don't have vehicles like a GSA schedule or other contract vehicles in the federal government, you're going to be in trouble. You're going to be in trouble. You got an uphill climb. You got to get in and get those things started. So that's real quick about that piece. Remember, this ties into what we just talked about. There are multiple decision makers, multiple buying motives, so you want to pitch the right motives. Remember what the motives are. People don't hire from resumes, just like people don't buy in networking events. We'll get to that in a minute. And first impressions do count. This is part of your first impression. Don't carry it with you everywhere you go. Don't do it in networking. I don't recommend handing this out at networking events because people are just going to throw it away. But get to the people. So, real quick, the 10 commandments of networking, the first one is to be prepared. And normally I don't do this. I don't have a whole bunch of stuff, but I'm going to throw it up there and we're going to have talking points on each one of these. Be prepared. Everybody's afraid of rejection. I'm still afraid of rejection. I'm out in front of people all the time, and I don't really care what people think, but I'm still afraid of rejection from time to time because that's what happens. We're human beings, and we don't want to be rejected. So, in order to do this, in order to feel like we're confident, in order to feel like we're getting out there and doing the right thing, we want to be prepared, and preparation trumps rejection. If you're prepared, you're going to feel confident. It's going to apply to you. Have enough cards, carry them in your pockets, and I recommend carrying some in your left-hand pocket is the pocket that you're going to reach in to pick your card out. In your right pocket is the pocket where you're going to deposit your cards that you collect. So left side, I don't care if you're left-hand, do reverse. I don't really care, but this is what I do. And then if you have collateral, put it in your coat pocket or you can have it, but make sure that it's folded up easy. And man, I'm not big on collateral. But if you're going to do it, make it easy. Don't hand them a book full of stuff that's just going to discard it, right? Make it easy to put in their pockets so they don't have to carry stuff around. Here's a super hint for you. Have blank cards for people who are not prepared. If they don't have cards, maybe they're decision makers and they don't want to give out their information, right? Or I'm sorry, I'm sorry, Dave. I'm sorry, Jamie, I don't have cards. Well, that's okay because I have one. Let me just write down your phone number and email address, and I'll shoot you my contact information. Now, that's bold, right? No, it's not bold. You're helping them help you. That's a great idea. I carry blank cards with me because my cards I can't write on the back of. Some folks, you have blank part on the back of your cards, you can write on the back of yours. You could do that too. I like the idea of I just happen to have a blank one here. I can fill it out or you can fill it out. Beautiful move, right? The second one, don't be offensive. Man, oh man, how many people, and I'll tell you what, if I eat Doritos or onions, I'm killing people. I am absolutely there. I'm blowing their hair back because I don't know what it is, man. It just happens with me. So I don't eat Doritos, I don't eat garlic, and I don't eat onions if I'm going to a networking event. Sometimes they have onions in the food. Bad idea for me. Bad idea for you. Bad idea for everybody in the room. But they do it anyway. So eat mints, carry gum. I don't care what it is, but make sure you're not blowing somebody's eyebrows off or burning them off. So the other thing is don't use bad language or off-color stories. Now, you may find that they may use bad language. Now, that unlocks the door where you can use bad language if you want to. I tend to stay away from that because you never know who's standing around you and how they're going to react to that. And don't denigrate others. Don't berate anybody else. You don't know who you're talking to. You don't know who they know, and you don't know who's standing around you. So big. Stay on the top level, top line. All right, so the third one is don't hang out with people you know. For crying out loud. I see this happen all the time with sales reps, all the time. You get 3 or 4 sales reps go to an event, and what do? They stand around, drink beer, drink wine together in a corner. That's not why you're there. That's not why they're there. Everybody should separate. If you know anybody there, and now I'll get to a point where if you know somebody that can help you, that's great. But if you're there with a team of people from your company, they already know who you are. They already know. Find somebody new. Go up, take some risk. Go up and talk to somebody. And I'll talk about some of that risk in a minute. But your friends and colleagues, don't hang out with them. Don't hang out with them. Go meet somebody that you don't know. All right. The fourth commandment of networking is act successful. Now, this is really important. Look like somebody that they want to do business with and act like someone who's worth doing business with. Now, I'm big. I am really, really big on being different. Absolutely big on being different. And we'll talk about some of the ways that I'm a little bit different than other folks. And sometimes I do crazy things. I will do crazy things to be able to get noticed in rooms. But it all wraps back around to being professional at the end of the day. I want to make people laugh. I want to engage people. But I want them to know that I'm professional at the end of the day. So Be confident in you. And one of the things I was with one of my clients last week and we were in a room, and she was petrified. She was absolutely petrified of going there. She was late because she was just having anxiety attacks about being there. A couple of different things to know about nervousness. It's okay. It's absolutely okay to be nervous. In fact, if you open up and you're willing to open yourself up to being human, right? It's a very trusting thing. It builds trust very quickly because people see that you're genuine. People see that, hey, man, I'm really, I don't know anybody here. This kind of makes me nervous, and it makes them want to help you even more. Beautiful thing. So don't be afraid of being nervous. Get out there, engage with them. Right? A lot more people are much more willing to help you feel at ease. And if you happen to find somebody who wants to step all over you, right? You may be in the wrong place, right? They may be a competitor and are afraid that you're there to take some of their business, right? The other thing is they just may be insecure people themselves. So, and you also found somebody that you need to pay attention to, because if they're bullies, not good, right? But most of the people there, I'm talking about most, the high 90% are more than happy to help you feel at ease, to help you fit in. The next one, the fifth, is FILO, first in, last out. I love this one. And so many times it's hard because getting there early, sometimes I'm trying to get there and I can't get there early, but I really try to be there half an hour before the event starts. And you can get there, you get a lay of the land. You get to hang out with people that are setting up the event, and those people know a lot of the people that are there. If it's an association, a lot of the brass are there from the association. They may have had a meeting beforehand a lot of time where, they're working on things, and then all of a sudden they're just moseying around and helping people get things together, setting up tables, putting out stuff. Help people do that. Start to build that type of relationship, and let them know that you're there for the first time, or maybe you're there and you really like to meet some people, but you really don't know and you're kind of nervous. Man, these are the kind of folks that are going to help you. And you'd be amazed at how many people are willing to do that, first of all. Then last out means that you're the last person. Maybe you're helping pack up, or you're talking with people. I tell you what, more often than not, walking out the parking lot after they're throwing you out and they've already closed down the bar or whatever, you're on your way out the door, that's a great time to be able to talk with people, and there's nobody else that's trying to get to them at that particular point. You're just shooting the breeze, hanging out, talking about the Final Four, talking about whatever, baseball, talking about the weather, I don't care. Doesn't matter. Getting to know those folks, walking out to the car, and then you'll be amazed how many times they're really, really high-level people, C-level people, or administrators and agencies and things. Okay, number 6 is one of my favorites too, stalking. Stalking, my friends, is a good thing. This is great. When you're going out to these places, know who you want to meet. Last month, I met the CIO of Hewlett-Packard, Ramon Baez. I met him last week. How did I do that? I did that because I knew I wanted to meet him, and I met everybody in his team. We already have relationships with HP. We already have people that are working with those, but I don't have C-level access. I don't know Meg, but he does. And I don't necessarily need to get to Meg, but I know that I can drop names. And I know that I can be able to say, hey, I hung out with them, and we happened to hang out with Colin Powell. And that was pretty cool. We were in the front row together, me and some folks from HP, sitting there watching Colin Powell deliver his keynote address at one of their events. Beautiful thing. If you haven't heard Colin Powell speak, highly recommend it. Very, very good. So know the key players that you want FaceTime with, and make sure you're going and introducing your folks, especially the keynote speakers. I got to shake Colin Powell's hand, said, hey, that was great. Really appreciate what you did. and I know some stories about him, so we talked for a minute, and it was great. Had a great time. The association executive directors, board members, we mentioned that before, and make sure that if you're talking to them, you ask them, say, hey, who else should I make sure I talk to before I leave? And you're talking, and now you're going to be doing something that's kind of really cool. We'll talk about that in a few minutes, called manufacturing a referral or an introduction. It's a beautiful thing. We talked about that last month. So a super hint. Here is what I do. I put on my iPhone, I have a note tab, or I put it in an email so I can review it in an email. Well, I'll look, and I'll have pictures of the people sometimes, of my targets, so that I know them when I see them. And because a lot of times I'm after 20 or 30 people at a particular place, and I want to know who they are so I can address them by name, and maybe even take a look at the notes and have some links there so I can go back to my CRM and take a look at who these people are. And so, and if you're brand new, don't know anyone, ask the people who are running the show to introduce you to the president or the director, somebody that's in charge, and go after them. And most of the time, they're willing to do that because that's what they're there for. Everybody's there for networking, right? So that's why we do it. So the next thing, oh, that's not right. Hang on a sec. Act as if. Act as if you're good friends already. Now, this is a big change for most people. This goes with comfortability. Harvard Business Review did one of the best articles I have ever seen on sales reps' biggest mistakes. And we did this a couple times over the past, and I don't remember what months they were, but it has to do with people. Most people don't have a problem with you acting too familiar. And it's the best way to put people at ease. When you're friendly and you're kind of, hey, I just want to come up and introduce myself. I'm Dave Lowe. I'm the CEO of isiFederal. What do you do? It's unassuming, but you have an idea that you're friends already. If you put it in your mindset, you're already friends. And we as humans can do this. We can go out a year or more, and we could say, oh, wow, a year from now we could be sitting on a boat together. We could have hung out with our families and had barbecues, and we're friends already. And this is a rapport building technique that you can implement right now that will help you. Now, don't get too excited about meeting somebody that's a bigwig. I met the CIO. I was like, man, that's cool to meet you. I really appreciate it. You guys did a great job here. You're the folks that were here that set up this thing, awesome. Just want to let you know we appreciate being one of your partners. Just wanted to drop in and say hey, shook his hand, and walked away. And because the bigwigs, they don't want to be sold at an event. They hate it. They hate it. They know that they got targets all over them, and they hate it. And don't be intimidated by them. Don't be intimidated. They're there for the same reason you are, doing the relationship thing, building relationships, networking, and building those relationships and making sure those relationships are solid. And by the way, there's no reason to be afraid of anybody. No reason at all. They put their pants on the same way, and you got nothing to lose. We'll talk about that in a minute too. You got nothing to lose. So the next one is listen and learn. Listen, man, if there's anything I can tell you, you got 2 ears, 1 mouth, using accordingly. Listen first. And this is great. If they're not ready, if they're not prepared, if they don't have their elevator pitch down, help them. Help them with their elevator pitch. What do they do? What do you do better than anybody else? How come you're here? What would you like to accomplish by being here? Who are your best customers? So I can understand how I might be able to help you. What's a good prospect or lead for you? That way, oh, you know what? Probably somebody in that room that I already met, because I'm already doing my thing, I'll be able to say, you know what? I just talked to John over there. John is one of these guys. I think he might be a good contact for you. How about we walk over there and go meet him, right? And even if you don't know them, help them with examples of how, well, tell me. Sometimes it's like pulling teeth for me, because I know why I'm there, but they don't necessarily know how to work a room. So I want to make sure that I'm helping them. I'm pulling information from them. So what do you do? What makes you better than anybody else? What made you decide to get into this in the first place? And next thing you know, they're sharing their heart. They're sharing their buying motives. They're sharing who they are. And they're already sharing whether or not they're a potential customer for you, or there's only 2 possible outcomes there. They're either a customer for you or they know somebody who is. So making sure you're building those. So help, and when you're doing this, write it on the back of the cards or on their cards so that you don't forget who they are and relative for that. So the next one, 9, help others first. You just talked about this. You just talked to somebody. You found out what they do. Even if you don't know somebody, walk up and introduce them. I did this with one of my clients last week. I didn't know anybody in the room either, but I introduced her to 7 people. Now, how did I do that? I simply walked up and I said, "Hey, Jerry, Dave Lowe, I just wanted to make sure that you met." And next thing you know, they're having a conversation. I walk away. And he looks at me. I'm already acting as if I know him because I'm like introducing somebody. And if I'll introduce Jamie, it'll be like this: Hey, John, Dave Lowe. I know, there's a lot going on here. I just want to make sure that you had the chance to meet Jamie because Jamie makes GSA schedules. I don't know if you're into that, but I was thinking that you might be into that, and he might be able to help you somehow. And maybe you guys can compare notes. Boom, walk away. Power move. And it works like a champ. And who gets the brownie points? Who gets the brownie points? I get the brownie points. I get them. If I'm doing the introductions, I get them. If you're doing introductions for other people, you do. And you look like a baller when you do it. It's great. It's awesome. And you look like you're connected. And next thing you know, people are coming to you saying, "Well, how do you know him?" And I'm talking about walking up to millionaires and billionaires. I've walked up to billionaires and done it. And introduced people and walked away. And I get brownie points. I get brownie points from everybody. It's a beautiful thing. So leverage your relationships. If you don't have them, think like you do. Act as if you do and go walk up and introduce them. And you can do it. I did it 7 times last week, and much more than that actually, but 7 times in that one meeting. Okay, the last one. Now, after all this, if you've been paying attention, you've been saying this is all about who. It's all about somebody else. It's not about you yet. But let me ask you a question. Can I get selfish for just a minute? Now I have the attention of them, and they're zoned in on me. It reinforces the fact that I've been helping others up to that point. It was all about them. Then they're very, very focused on my next statement. And they're in a very influenceable state of mind. You can say, "Hey, listen, what we do is we help companies understand, plan, and penetrate the federal government." Who here would even care about this? Now, if there's somebody here, who do you think I should be talking to? Is that a fit with your company? Or is there somebody else here that you think I should be talking to? And you can ask them to get together next week, see if there's a fit. That's great. That's fine. And then besides you, who in this room would even care about what I do? And then it's in their wheelhouse. Now, they may have understood what you said, or they may not have understood what you said. But if they're looking to get into the business with the federal government, I'm telling you, you know what I do now, because that's what we do. We help understand, plan, prepare, and penetrate the federal government. Very easy and to understand what we do. Not easy to do, but easy to understand what we do. So now we figured out if they are a potential customer, right? Are they interested in doing business with the government? That's a yes or no question. If they are, great. Hey, let's get together next week. I'll be glad to tell you what we do, give you my best pitch, and if there's a fit, great. If not, I'll help you find the person who is a fit. So, got that one down. Then, who do you know that I should be talking to? Got to be somebody in this room. And that's where we get to a place where working with them, introducing them, all those pieces, and helping other people first. The law of reciprocity here is critical. What comes around goes around. You help enough other people, Zig Ziglar, I don't care who we learned it from, help enough other people get what they need, they'll help you get what you need. Simple as that. So, real quick, recap, be prepared. Don't be offensive. Don't hang out with people you know. Act successful. First in, last out. Money. 6, stalking is great. Act as if You already know people. Act as if you're friends already. 8, listen and learn. 9, help others first. Help them get to where they need to go first. Plenty of people help you. And then 10, get selfish for a minute. Can I ask you what you can do? So there you go. So there's those people. I'm going to give you some power networking techniques real quick on how to manufacture an introduction. First, you got to know who you want to reach. Second, you need to talk with people and listen with who they are and how they operate. Ask if they know the person you want to reach. It goes back to having it on your iPhone or whatever, your Android. Very few Blackberries anymore, but anyway, you could do Blackberry. Ask them if they're one of the good guys. I use this in other introductory techniques and say, hey, I'd really like to meet Jerry over there, and is he one of the good guys? The next thing you know, you now have a way to be able to approach Jerry. So I was just talking to Sally over there. She said, you're one of the good guys that I just had to talk to. Bam. Brownie points for Sally, brownie points for you, brownie points for Jerry. Works like a champ. Listen for a reaction. If it's positive, you can reinforce that. That's good to know. It's really good to know people that are good people, right? If it's negative, you've identified a potential problem with the relationship, and you might not want to have that person refer you. Simple as that. You might need to find somebody else. But if you're paying attention to the body reaction, how they say things, they say, well, yeah, he's a good guy, but, get that but. But means no. He's not a good guy. And you may want to not even know that guy. You may want to stay away from that guy. So it's either a bad relationship with that person or there's something to uncover there. So here's another one for manufacturing introduction. Ask them to introduce you. After you get all that information, ask them to introduce you. Circle back to them and thank them after they do the introduction and let them know how it turned out. Ask if there's anybody else that they think you really need to talk to in the room. That was a great referral. I really appreciate that, Jamie. Thanks for making that referral, and I appreciate that. And you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to make sure I'm paying attention over the next week, and I'm going to find you somebody. I'll email you. Make sure that I return the favor. Is that fair enough? So there you go. There you have that. That what comes around goes around. What you've just done is manufacture a referral to a known target. You've identified potential new targets. You've built enough of a relationship that you can report back to the associate that you've just talked to with the results, where you can continue to build that relationship with that person, praising them. Oh, man, how many people just need to be let know that they did a good job? That was great. Thanks for helping me. That was awesome. Referring you to that helps, reinforcing their decision to help you, right? And asking for additional insight. Hey, you know what? I did talk with Jerry, and Jerry thought this. What do you think? What do you think? How do you think I should approach that? Next thing you know, you're getting inside information with the folks. So there you go. That's the networking part. What's most important in this process? The most important in this process is the who that matter to you. The who that matter to you. And this goes to identifying your marketplace, identifying your competition, your key contacts, and getting smart about the marketplace as it applies to you. And that's what we're going to be talking about in this next part, especially when it revolves around the government. Because if I'm going to get selfish for just a minute, because we've been talking about networking, how to build your networking, I'm going to get selfish for a minute. I'm going to talk about how we can help you identify these people. Now, these are the people that are spending the money in your world. We do the research, we understand who they are, and we connect the dots with the key people that are responsible for the purchases and who's responsible for getting this stuff out on the street. And here we see $4.5 million and $1.7 million. We would like a piece of that, right? And we know that these folks have multiple contracts. So what would you do if you knew who these people are? Especially if you knew who your competition's best customers are. And these are the people that are actually buying from your competition. This dives down to specifically, if you can list them, we will find them. It's a beautiful thing. Brenda here spends $387,000, has spent $387,000 with your key competition. Your number one competitor. Just so you know, that's your tax dollars going in their bank account. And guess what? They're from people that you probably aren't even thinking about, like the Bureau of Land Management at $1.6 million. Wouldn't it be nice if you knew their phone numbers and their email addresses so that you can then start to say, hey, we're not going to steal all the business away from ABC company right away, but we'd like to give you a choice for second place. We'd like to be first choice for second place, in fact. We'd like to give you some other options. And maybe we'll be able to help you on some of the items that are a little bit harder that they can't do. Next thing you know, you're building relationships with the key people that are most important, the people that are spending the money. So what would you do if you knew that? Would you let them keep putting your tax dollars in your competitor's bank account, or would you go out and get them? I am of the mindset I want to go get them. As soon as we know about it, then we can go out and we can go pursue these folks. And that's what we do. If you have any questions, love to answer some of those questions for you. You can, if you let me know what, if you have questions, let me see if I can do this without jacking it up. Okay. I'm going to the question area now. Let's see. Yeah, I don't know about what we can do about the way that the format is. I'm going to try to fix that for this next time. Okay, will this presentation be made available? Yes, it will. It will be made available on YouTube, and we'll also send out the slides. And let's see. Jason, how do we get a copy of the ebook? I will let you know. There's a link that I will send out for you with that. So I appreciate that question. We'd like to have that. Let's see. Who else would like? Anybody else want to ask any questions? Let me see real quick. Just feel free to raise your hand if you want to. And okay, John asked the question, how do we find the key decision makers? Great question. That's a great question. We do that. We do the research on that, and we get that back to you. We have a whole program. It's called Marketing Essentials, where it gives you the fundamental pieces. And what we do every time is we identify the key buyers so that we can then create a strategy around those buyers. Once we understand who the buyers are, then we can go after those folks. And within that, we can either apply our resources or your resources, but we'll let you know the kind of resources that are there. Any other questions? Jamie, do you have anything else that you want to add in this before we jump into the special for this particular webinar?
You know, I think you're covering up to the point. I really can't say enough about the relationship development cycle. That's a super important component, and it sets the stage for being able to come back and gather. And you make a very good point as being the first person in second place, and that really is a great starting point as you're trying to work against some of your own competition's businesses to get yourself in there just a little bit and start to grow that environment, and that's part of the relationship development as well.
You're absolutely right. And John just said something else. He says we try to reach these people, but they won't take our calls, and that happens. And your approach is critical when it comes to that. So if you need some additional help with that, John, we can talk about that, about how we can help with the process of them taking your calls, because they will talk to you. The people that are buying will talk to you. There's no doubt in my mind. We do it every day. We have people that make the phone calls, set up the meetings. We have face-to-face meetings. We conduct the face-to-face meetings. They will take meetings. They will take calls. But they won't do it if you don't know what you're doing. And they'll make sure that happens. So any other questions before we move on to our ultra special for this particular webinar? We have a webinar special, and this is actually the wrong webinar, but that's okay because we'll do it anyway. So what it is, it's Federal Marketing Essentials. We talked about this before. These are the key contacts who buy your things. Whoever's buying what you sell is what we're after. Your competitors' contacts, very, very important. I love starting this way to be able to say, okay, here are the competition. Here are the people that I compete up against, and tell me who's buying from them. The other thing we can learn from them is the process of how long it took for them to get into the business and to be successful, and who they're being successful with. And these include under-the-radar contracts that are not going to hit GSA. They're not going to hit FBO. We are developing the relationships so we can get ahead of those contracts like your competitors are. It's a breakdown of the agency spending. Don't take a guess on who's spending it, and don't take a guess on where you should be spending your efforts. Let the market determine the agencies that you should go after. This also includes the primes and their contacts who's buying from them. what better way to be able to develop a relationship with a prime? And if you're going to an OSDBU convention, right, there's one happening next week. So you go to Washington, D.C., and you're going to do these matchmaking sessions. Well, that's great. However, they're going to tell you to sign up for this database. And if you go in there, you're going to do it this year, you're going to do it next year and next year, and they're not going to call you. Why? Because that's what everybody's doing, and there's a method behind that madness. But if you're talking to the people that are writing the checks to the primes, they're the ones that are going to have the right contacts, and you can get a referral to the prime. Yeah, absolutely, you can. And that's another way to develop referrals. We'll give you recommended action steps on what's important for your company, specifically for you to be able to develop in the marketplace. We may, in fact, tell you to stay out of the market, in which case you should thank me greatly. You can usually they don't send me checks for that, but they'll send me thank you letters to say, yeah, I really appreciate that you were honest. You told us that we really can't get into this marketplace at this point. We need to do this, that, or the other thing first. Or it's just not right. There's a couple of places that we've done the research for, and the pool is so thin that that it just wasn't worth the time for them to go after the federal marketplace. So, and with this, we save you $505. It's regularly for $4,500, and you can see that on isiFederal.com. For this, you can save that. We have another package that we can do in conjunction with this with a blitz. If you're interested in that, we could do that. Some of the folks that we do work for, William Scotsman, #1 in their industry. #1 in their industry, and they've done this twice. The reason being is because they want to stay #1 in their industry in the federal government, and they book like $80 million. So we're not talking about just little guys. We're talking about big guys like these guys, some super big guys that I'm not even going to mention. But the reason for this is we see into the marketplace a little bit differently, and we can show you how this works. Two of those clients, Link Services, is in the Inc. 500 for the second year. They're at $70 million, and we congratulate them. And we find things that they simply can't find on their own. So with this, key contacts who buy your stuff, your competitors' contacts, under-the-radar contracts, breakdown of your agency spending, primes and their contacts, and recommended action steps, and this is what you need to do to get in front of people so that you can tap into $280 billion in the next 176 days. And a reminder, if you haven't been doing it, you're already 6 months behind. Your competitors have been doing it and doing it for the past 6 months, even though there hasn't been any money. And you're going to need to do that too. So you better get moving, get in there, and we'll help you start winning. And that's pretty much it. Real quick, here's Jamie's information. If you don't have a GSA schedule, please give him a call. They'll do it for less than everybody else in the marketplace, and they have a 100% track record. Any parting comments besides that? Any parting comments about where GSA schedules are today, and if there's any that are closing? I know we haven't talked about that recently.
No statement on any closing. In fact, last year they talked about schedules closing. There were 4 on the docket, and it was early last year. They talked about those schedules closing down, and later in the year they did not close. So those schedules are still wide open. All schedules are still current, and as far as keeping your schedule current, if you've got a GSA schedule and you haven't looked at it in a while, you really need to go in there and have a look at it, see what's on your schedule, make sure that it's current. And if it's not and you need to get it current, we can certainly help you do that too.
Great. And if anybody else has any other insights on things, would love to talk with you about networking successes. I kind of messed that up because of the getting in a little bit late. But next webinar, May 13th of next month, we're going to be talking about maximizing fiscal year 2014. I'm telling you, September's coming. And if you're not prepped, if you start now, even if you start now to get your market essentials, you're still going to be the 1st of May before you're actually going after people. And that is getting late, folks. You've got to get in front of people. They're finalized. They're going to start working on their budgets for 2015. And forecasts don't matter. I don't care about forecasts at all. They're worse than weathermen. They may have and they may not. But projects that money that needs to be spent is going to be happening. They are going to be spending money on things, and they're already doing it with folks that are buying from your competitors. So we'll be concentrating on that. And with that, we just appreciate you guys joining us. It's at the top of the hour, and I kind of talked a little bit too much, and I apologize. But feel free to reach out to me. Feel free to reach out to Jamie. We'll be glad to help you any way that we can. If you need additional information, go to isiFederal.com. Great place. We're kind of ramping up. We have some cool things coming out next month. It's going to be out of control for people that have GSA schedules. And that's just a taste of things to come with dealing with that. So we have some really good tools. So, but the rest of it really revolves around relationships, and that's what we want to help you guys create. So thanks for joining us. We appreciate it, and we will look forward to having you next month. And feel free to reach out to us if you have any questions.